Hello, my name is Gal Messinger, and I'm the owner of Solar Messenger. I'm also a professor for environmental studies and electronics. I would like you to join me and enjoy this video, which I hope is going to shed light about a variety of topics relating to solar systems. It's not a full-blown lecture because just on tip of the iceberg. Basically, we're going to discuss what is a solar system and its main ingredients. So a solar system, as the name suggests, takes the energy from the sun and converts it to power we can use. And usually it's installed on a roof or on the ground and has a few ingredients that I'm going to discuss. So we're going also to discuss a few types of solar systems and what are their components. So each solar system have these basic ingredients. This is the bare bone solar array made of solar panels, an inverter, and load center. Sometimes it has a battery as well, not always, depending on the needs. So the most typical solar systems can produce electricity. This is what probably you're going to purchase on your roof. Heat, which in many countries is mandatory even to have a heat water system on the roof, but in Canada, because of the weather, it's not that efficient. And also we can take the same energy from the sun and use it to directly heat water and create chemical energy in batteries. So same as we heat water, we can use that to charge batteries. So the idea is that you can use this energy directly or indirectly. So by creating electricity, it's converting it. By creating heat, you can basically charge what we call a heat battery, which is maybe your boiler, and use the chemical energy in batteries as well for later use. The idea is that most systems are quite simple to understand, and especially if you're going to a typical home grid tie system. So the light hits the solar panels, and then it's inverted into the inverter to AC, which is alternating current that we can use. You cannot take the solar panels, connect to your outlet. It won't work. So this is called an inverter. Sometimes, as I said, there is a battery which you can charge and discharge. Usually in Ontario and cities is only for backup, but in rural Canada and on islands, on RVs and boats, you can use it as your main storage capability for the system. So there are different types of solar systems, and it's very important that we understand what types we have. Grid tie system is a system that you probably see on most houses in Ontario and in Canada. This means that the grid itself, the company that sells you the electricity, is used as a huge battery, and you can store the energy onto the grid. This is also called net metering. This means that your meter goes one way to charge you money and the other way to tell the electrical company that you gave them kilowatt hours or energy units. And they can use it later on. So this unit is, again, quite simple. You have photovoltaic cells or solar panels, usually an array of them, not one, and then an inverter, and then it's connected to your panel at home, and that goes either to the grid, to your house, and to the grid. So to your house, it's going to operate all your loads, like your kitchen appliances, your light, your computers, and then whatever extra is given back to the grid. An off-grid or standalone system does not use a grid connection, which is usually not the case for a normal home. It's more the case for an RV, a cottage or a cabin far away, or a boat or anything else that is not connected to the grid. In this case, you are storing the energy only in a battery. And usually those batteries are huge and they're expensive because you cannot rely on the grid. Just to give an example, in a normal summer day, my system on my roof can produce 80 to 90 kilowatt hours, which is huge. So if I don't use much electricity, it's almost like charging a Tesla battery, a car, electric car battery in one day. Okay. And if I need to, if let's say I want to charge batteries throughout the summer, I will need 100 Tesla batteries to store the energy. It's not possible. So on a grid tie system, we store it in the grid. On the other hand, on a standalone system, we need a big battery. Obviously, we're not going to put a huge battery. It's too expensive, but just enough to supply the house with a few days of electricity. So the batteries in those systems are big. And as you can see, there is no grid connection. It's only either you have some small DC loads, usually lighting, or you'll have some AC loads like your appliances and your house consumption. And the batteries are going to be charged or discharged So if you charge them with solar, that's good. And then the inverter is going to discharge them. And sometimes the inverter also, most of them include a charge controller in most systems. So you may not even see this part. It's going to be just photovoltaic going into the charger, into the battery. Hybrid systems are very rare. It's a system that can be used on a grid. For example, if you've got an RV and you want to be stationary for 3 months, and theoretically speaking, near your house, you can actually connect the RV to your house system, and if you have an agreement, you can actually export to the grid from the RV. And then when you're on the road, you're using it as a standalone system. So hybrid system has basically a battery as well as a grid tie option. Usually they include also a generator and other things. So it's a specific case that most customers do not need. But if you got an RV and a big solar array on it and you want to connect it as part of your home system, you definitely can use that as a hybrid system. Now, what are solar panels? Solar panels are units, actually not too expensive, surprising to most people, that are catching the photons from the sun and inverting it into current and voltage, meaning electric power. So a solar panel consists of cells, and those cells, there are many of them. Each one is about half a volt to 1 volt, depending on the technology. Some are in different situations. Basically, the idea is to create a lot of them in one panel, 20 to 40 of them. And the panel itself would have a certain voltage and current. So voltage is like the pressure and in a pipe, and current is like the thickness of the current. So this means that the power from a solar panel is going to be the voltage times the current. And this has to be optimized as well. I'm not going to get into it. You cannot just connect willy-nilly solar panels to each other. You have to follow some rules. Connecting them together gives you a solar array, which consists of many of those cells in one panel and many of those panels in a solar array. So basically, it's connecting tiny elements together to create a solar panel, and then those together to create a solar array. Now, those solar arrays have to do a lot with the size of your roof, the location of your roof, the elevation. So where is it facing? What is the angle? And as you can see, there's a lot of technologies that you can choose from. And later on, I hope you can watch the solar system optimization video. But a lot of people choose, for example, to use an all-black panel or an all-black roof that would hide the solar panels almost completely. Other people like me, I'm not really into that, so my solar panels just look regular because I wanted to showcase my roof to customers on purpose. I want people to look at my house from the street and say, hey, there are solar panels on this house. So each one has their own choice. Solar panels are much cheaper than they used to be, and they're very aesthetic. I'm not talking about Tesla roof. I'm talking about regular solar panels. So this is a panel from Canadian Solar, definitely very aesthetic panel and not too expensive. Some other installations, especially if you live on a farm or a big lot at the backyard, you can use array on the ground. Let's say you live in a house, you have a very big backyard. At the edge of it, you just plant a little structure in the ground and put some solar panels on it. It's possible. There's a bit of a cost for the wiring, but it's not too much. Other people choose a sun follower, which looks like a sunflower, but that is extremely rare. That's for really somebody's really rich and want to spend money and show off, maybe. But for all purposes, it's very expensive, not in a normal situation of people. It could be good for scientific facilities, like, say, observatories and stuff like that, but not for regular use. So most people use roofs, and some rare occasions they use a ground mount. Now, illumination, you'll hear it a lot when you're going to discuss this with solar people. As you know, the Earth gets the sun rays not in an even way because we are tilted. So it's not a lesson in astronomy. Definitely, it's something that most people should know from elementary or high school. But in the winter, in the summer, we've got different effect on the sun from the sun on the planet, and we need to optimize it. That is why most solar panels are tilted, because the illumination has to do with the tilt of the planet. So in our latitude, the best is around 40-45 degrees tilt. So the roofs are usually, if they face south or east-west with an angle to the south is even better. If it's like south is the best. we need to understand that this tilt of the planet causes us to have illumination differences, and we have to take care of that. Secondly, any tree, obstacle, chimney has to do with illumination of specific solar panels, and this is why we've got solutions such as optimizers and microinverters. So the idea is that we need to think about the differences between summer and winter. For instance, this roof is about 45 degrees, 40 degrees. Great. It's good for the winter time. I got two angles. On my garage, it's about 20. On my house is about 35 degrees, which means that I can get different illuminations in different time frames. So when I design a solar system, all of this has to be taken into consideration. The solar array is very important, and a lot of people don't know, and I'm telling them we have to oversize the arrays usually in Canada. And they asked me why, and I said, okay, if you want to maximize your production, a bigger array can produce more electricity in peak. That's why you can see that I'm limited at 10 kilowatts. My solar panel probably produce around 11 or 12. The inverter only can use 10 of it, and then you kind of lose a little bit of possible power here, but look at the rest of the graph. So in Canada, to optimize for about 20 to 30% more array is normal. That is because you want to produce a lot even when the sun is weak. So energy midsummer, even now, actually, because of the nice days we had in the spring of 2024, I could see 80 kilowatts even on a sunny spring day. You can see that the production will be clipped, but the idea of a bigger panel gives you more power on these sides of the graph. Also, don't forget we have clouds and we have interference of weather events. Now, inverters can come in different forms. So as I mentioned, the inverter takes usually a couple of strings, 2, 3, 4 strings of solar panels. That's the simplest solution. And each string is independently controlled, but if one of the panels in a string is hurt by shading or even bird's poop or anything, the whole string is kind of affected. This is for very small, simple system. If you have a small cabin and it's all the same angle, same light, no obstacles, you can use that. In most cases, we use inverters that are small and connected to each solar panel called microinverters. So that's another way to do this. And the third option is an optimizer, which is in between the two. You can connect each solar panel to a small unit, and that is connected to a central inverter. So all the inverters are taking the DC from the solar panels, direct current, and making an AC that you can use in your house and to the grid. They have an MPPT, so it's an optimization DC circuit that, with the sun illumination, optimizes the current and voltage taken from the panel. I cannot deal with it right now. This is a whole new lecture if I want to do that. The inverters usually monitor the power production, clipping if they need to. You cannot really produce more than 10 kilowatt in your area. The inverter will take care of that. Surge protection, ground fault, like any short to ground, any over voltage and things like this, the inverter will cut off the production. Monitoring the array and communicating with you. I actually have my system all the time talking to me and telling me what's going on, and I can log into my portal and see what's going on. And also, your inverter usually communicates with the installer. So if something is wrong with the system, usually the installer, like I can see systems when we install them, I can see what's going on. And if I need, let's say, to replace a solar panel, I can send a technician with a solar panel, and I know that solar panel is not working, or maybe an inverter is not working, or something I can tell immediately. So as I said, the simplest solution is to connect an inverter to a few strings. It's very rare to see this anymore because any issue with one solar panel is going to really cause problem in the system. It's very good for small systems that you can actually touch the solar panels. Let's say if it's a ground array facing south on a clear field, maybe this is a good solution. So because you can shovel the snow down with like 10 minutes of work, and the solar panels are usually in the same illumination. Another way, as I mentioned, is to put microinverters. So instead of this one big inverter, you have the same unit, just small ones. And they are connected in series. So the advantage is they are more simple to install. single panel optimization. They actually come with 1, 2, or 4 panels connected to one microinverter. Any non-working panel can be bypassed, so it won't affect your system. Of course, you have less power, but it won't shut it down. The disadvantage of microinverters, they are on the roof. So if something goes wrong, you have to climb to the roof and change them. Usually a technician is doing this. And they're a bit more pricey than just this simple solution. In between those two, we have what we call an optimization system. So there's an optimizer instead of a microinverter. There's an optimizer, which only deals with the DC functions. It doesn't convert to AC. That's done in the inverter. And usually those are only simple DC to DC devices, a bit cheaper than of course, than microinverters. And they call for a major, serious, big inverter at the end, the same as I have in my house, which is Solar Edge. And this is a bit more expensive solution, but definitely has all the advantages from both worlds, and they are very reliable systems. The question I've been asked a lot is, what about batteries? And as I mentioned, in Ontario and most of Canada, we have a very reliable grid. So most people add batteries, either rack mount batteries or wall mount batteries, for backup, and that's it. Now, off-grid systems need the batteries for usage. So obviously, if you are off-grid or in a hybrid situation, you need a much bigger battery. But in a home where a grid-tied system, you probably don't need a battery. But if you really, really want to have one, I'll give an example. If you have a sick person in the house that needs to be connected to a machine, or if you've got some sensitive computers, then let's say you have a server in your house, some people need that, and we can definitely find the variety of solutions. But if you are an off-grid system, you need a big battery. Now, obviously, there is always compromising situations. For example, a marine or RV would need a big battery, but they want it light. So the battery is not going to be huge. But in a house, you can put a very big battery and have maybe a week of electricity just from your battery. It's possible. So batteries are important. Some people even connect emergency generators. Now, for a backup system, 5 to 15 kilowatt battery is good enough. And it's very, very important that you'll understand that. It's enough for emergencies. If you have more need for that, you need a big battery. But because we have net metering in Ontario, usually most people choose not to use a battery. I would recommend to have it as an option. So you can choose an inverter. It's slightly more expensive that has that option, or at least design the panels in a way, the electrical panels, that you can accommodate it later. So that is on the tip of the iceberg, the understanding of what is a solar system. I hope it helped you. The next lecture is optimization, and I hope you can have time to watch that. It's a bit longer one. So I hope you enjoyed the lecture. Again, my name is Gal Messinger. I'm the owner of Solar Messenger. If you need more information, please feel free to contact me. The details are on my website. Thank you very much for watching the video. Bye-bye.